today we have seen the generic expression for S. S is the stability factor. Again, to have a bit of recall, S is nothing but the change in collector current with change in ICBO. Okay, and we have found out that it was equal to 1 plus beta over 1 minus beta into bracket delta IB by delta IC. Now this delta IB by delta IC is the only factor which is going to change. Everything else, that is the stability factor, and that will be separate or different for every circuit that we have seen. So in earlier test, we have to derive an expression for delta IB by delta IC for each of the circuit that we have already studied. Okay, so we start with the very first one, that is the stability factor for fixed current bias. So for that we have IB. Just recall, go back to that circuit and see. We have IB as VCC minus VBE divided by RE. If you recollect the circuit that we have and for fixed current bias, we had VCC. We had only one resistor. Call this the RT. This is RC. This was IC. This was IB. This is VBE. Okay. So if we apply the equation at the input side again, what we have is this. Okay. Just to have a recall, you can have an equation written at the input side using KVL, and that we can do as VCC minus IB RB minus VBE equal to 0. From that I can derive this equation. IB itself is itself. Okay. So once we have this equation with us, remember what is our ultimate goal? Ultimate goal is to evaluate the expression for this factor. So once we have an expression for this factor, we will substitute it here, and then that will give us the expression for S for that particular circuit. Okay. Now when IB changes by delta IB, we see here that VCC is not going to change, neither is VBE going to change. We don't have a change in RB also. Okay. So what can I say about IC? IC is not at all involved in this equation, you see. So I can say that, I can infer that delta IB by delta IC is equal to 0. Why? Simply because IC is not involved in this equation at all. Okay. All right. Is that okay, guys?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once we have the notion that there is this delta IB by delta IC is equal to 0, I simply substitute it in this equation for generic equation for S. And what do I get? S now for fixed current bias as S is equal to simply 1 plus beta. Remember that this is going to be, this term is going to be 0. So beta into 0 is 0. So it is 1 plus beta by 1, that is 1 plus beta. Okay. So what we have done is we have derived the equation for stability factor for a particular circuit, which is the fixed current bias. Okay, this is very, very important. Now here itself we can see beta is almost always greater than, or let us say like greater than 50. Okay, for small signal transistors, beta is always greater than 50. So what can you say about the stability factor here? It will be always greater than 50. So S will always be greater than 50 no matter what you do. And we have already studied somewhere earlier that stability factor, if it is greater than 50 or in the range of 50, it is not a very stable circuit. It is not a very stable circuit. That is what we have already seen. All right. Next we derive S for collector base bias. The second circuit that we have already seen. So now for the collector base bias, we have this equation VCC is equal to RC into IC plus IB plus IB RB plus VBE. Where do I get this equation from? Do I get this equation? Again, let us get this equation. So this was your this is RC, this is RB. We have this as IC, this as IB, again this as VBE. Okay. Now what is going to be this current? Current flowing through RC. If you apply KCL at this point, so the current flowing out here is IB and here it is IC. So I'm having this as IC plus IB. All right. Now once we have this, again applying KVL at the input side, what I get is VCC minus RC into IC plus IB minus IB RB minus VBE is equal to 0. From that I can get this equation. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let us say that IB changes by delta IB, and let us say IC changes by delta IC. Okay. So on the left hand side, is there going to be any change here? Is VCC going to change? VCC is not going to change. So what is going to be delta VCC? VCC is not going to change. Therefore, delta VCC is equal to 0. So if I simply have the changes reflected in this equation, I am going to have the left hand side, I am going to have 0. Okay, because there is no change in VCC here. RC is not going to change. Okay, So what do I get here? Yes. VB is also not going to change. So delta VB is also going to be 0. So what do I get? I'll just open up this equation and so RC into delta IC plus delta IB plus delta IB into RB. Okay, this is important. I can rearrange this as delta IC into RC plus delta IB into RC plus RB. Just rearranging the terms. Nothing great. Okay. Now I'll be in a position to find out delta IB over delta IC. So with that I get, so what is going to be the value for delta IC, sorry, delta IB over delta IC? I'm going to get this as minus RC divided by RC plus RB. Have you understood this? What I'm doing
Yes,
is
sir.
simply finding out the
Yes.
ratio of delta IB to delta IC. That's all. Now I have to substitute this in the equation for stability factor, giving me S is equal to 1 plus beta divided by 1. Now it was minus beta, but this minus together with this will get cancelled off. This will be plus beta into RC divided by RC plus RB. This is going to be the equation for stability factor, specifically for the collector based bias. So what can you say about this stability value here? In order to have stability value high, in order to have stability value low, see, remember that S is equal to 1 is ideal. S greater than 50 is bad. Okay. So in order to have S value smaller, what do I have to do? Look at this equation. What should be the value of RB? Can I say that if RB is more, is small, sorry, if RB is small, then only my S will be small. Do you agree to this? Yes or no? Guys? Guys,
Yes, sir.
do you agree to that? See, this is a denominator for this factor.
Yes, sir.
So this factor has to be large. If this factor has to be large, its denominator has to be small.
Small. Yes.
So RB should be as small as possible. But remember one thing, that if I make RB very, very small, in that case there will be a problem. RB small means IB will be larger. Okay? This may pose a problem.
Yes, sir.
So generally, we will not be in a position to make RB arbitrarily small. So again, that is why we can say that S is better than the fixed current bias. Okay, but we really don't have a very nice value over there for S. Next, we will see S for the last circuit, that is the emitter current bias, or also called as voltage divider bias. Okay, we have Remember, we have already derived this equation. VTH is equal to IC into RE plus IB into RE plus RT. Remember that? We have already derived this equation. RTH, let us call it, plus VBE. Do you recall this equation? Yes or no? Remember, you have to revise your what we have done in the class. Okay, if you don't revise, you are not going to follow the proceedings. So we have this equation from the previous derivation. Again, when now it is nothing great. Okay, for those who don't seem to recollect. So we had reduced this to VTH and RTH. And here we are applying the KVL. So this was your IB. This was your VBE. Sorry. Let me put it this way. This was your VBE. This is VE. ठीक है ना? So when ICVO changes by delta ICVO, let us say IB changes by delta IB. Similarly, IC changes by delta IC. Okay. So we'll again reflect those changes here. So is VTH going to change? No, it is not going to change. So again, on the left hand side, I am having 0, which is equal to delta IC into RE plus delta IB into RE plus RTH. Now I can derive equation for delta IB by delta IC as what? Minus RE divided by RE plus RTH. Just a manipulation. Now I can put this in the equation for stability. And what do I get? One. Again, that my negative sign is cancelled. RE divided by RE plus RTH. So again, in order to have small value of S, what should be the value RE? You don't have any control over that. So what we can have, we can say that RTH has to be
Small. Small.
But here lies the problem. What is RTH? RTH is nothing but R1 parallel R2.
R2.
So if you recollect that, you already have seen. I'll just reproduce the circuit for you guys. So this was the circuit, and then we derived the VTH and RTH. So this is R1, R2. So for RTH to be small, R1 parallel R2 have to be, the combination has to be small. Means that R1 and R2 both need to be small. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
In fact, that should coincide with our earlier concept that whatever is the current flowing through let us call this as I2. This was IB. If R1, R2 are small, I2 is going to be large. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I2 is small as compared to I2 is large. See, if R1, R2 are small, I2 is large. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Resistance is small, so current will be more. So if I2 is more, naturally speaking, I'll be having I2 far more greater than IB. And this is what we have studied in the loading effect. So this actually corroborates with our finding that in order to avoid, or let us say not completely avoid, but minimize the loading effect, I must have the value of I2 greater than IB. Now again we have made one thumb rule. We have seen one thumb rule. What was that thumb rule? While selecting the value of I2, we said that let I2 be IC by 10. If you remember this thumb rule, this we used while designing the emitter current bias circuit. Now, if you put all this in together, you'll see that if you have this particular relationship, we can say that S ranges from 7 to 7.7. That is in our example, which we have already designed. And S values less than 10 are supposed to be good enough. Okay, very near to, let's say near to ideal. For that, you have to make sure that I2 is IC by 10. So that is how we can analytically say that the stability factor for emitter current bias is the best. And that is the reason why it is preferred for biasing. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, there are some things which we have not seen. For example, the effect of temperature on VBE. We ignored those things. Okay. But of course, we have discussed this, but we have not taken it into consideration. So for compensating for this VBE, there are some compensation circuit, or we can say to counteract for the changes in this VBE, there is something called as bias compensation. I don't want this VBE to change with temperature, because all these equations we have seen that we have assumed VBE to be delta VBE to be 0. Everywhere we have seen delta VBE was considered to be 0, but practically it will not happen that way. So if there is a large variation in temperature, VBE is also going to get affected. That is what we discussed in the last lecture. So for that we have a special circuit. Let us see that circuit now. So this is called as the bias compensation. This is our usual RC, RE. Then we have R1. Interestingly, in this part, we have a diode followed by, of course, the resistor. Okay, so this is your RE, this is RC, this is R1, this is R2. If you look carefully, I can write here the voltage across this diode as VD1. So they call this as V1. So this is VD1. And this voltage is VR2. And we have already said that IC is nearly equal to VB. VB is the voltage over here. So VB minus VBE divided by RE. We have started off our discussion with this equation itself. Okay, so this was your VBE. All right. Okay, nothing great. Now, what is special about this circuit? What is VB made up of? Can I write it like this? VR2 plus V1 minus VBE. Can I write it like this? Can I write it like this? VBE is nothing but this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if because of temperature, VBE changes. If VBE changes, let us say VBE increases or decreases. Okay. But look at what is happening here. If I make sure that this is also a silicon diode, there is a negative sign here associated with this. So the change in VD1 and VBE will be same. So here in this case, VD1 also decreases because of temperature. So both are changing by the same amount. So what will be the net change? Yes, the net change
Net will be 0.
is 0.
0.
This is very important. So what we have essentially done is we have compensated for the increase in temperature, and that is why we are calling this. Please mute your microphones. So what we can see here is that I have successfully compensated for increase in temperature or decrease in temperature. That is change in temperature. That is what is called as the bias compensation. So this is the concept of bias compensation. Okay. But again, what is the basic requirement? This diode should be of the same material as that of this transistor. Okay. So you cannot use a germanium diode with a silicon transistor or vice versa. If it is a silicon transistor, you have to use a silicon diode itself. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear to all of you? Okay. So for the remaining part of the lecture, I am going to demonstrate whatever we have seen. So we have finished with the first unit, that is the BJT biasing. Okay, the remaining of the part of the lecture, we are going to see some simulations and we are going to see one demonstration, an interactive simulation there. Okay, so just let me change the screen to something else. Meanwhile, you can just go through your notes, whatever we have seen so far, and if you have got any doubts, you can ask me about it. Okay, let me switch over to okay. Are you able to see this? Are you able to see this? Guys?
No, sir.
No, sir. A black screen is visible.
Sir, black
Nothing
screen आ रहा है.
else.
Black screen. Now,
Yes, sir.
what do you see?
Microphones.
Yes?
So Microsoft Teams वाला screen दिख रहा है जिसमें the names of the participants is visible.
अच्छा, वो BJT biasing demo नहीं दिख रहा है? BJT biasing demo नहीं दिख रहा है?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, let me do something about it. अभी दिख रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, yes, sir. अब दिख रहा है.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're going to see the effect of temperature variation and effect of change in beta and what happens to the Q point. We already have seen that, but let us have a live demo of what happens there. Okay, we will start with very first thing, that is with fixed current bias. अभी ये screen दिख रहा है क्या?
Yes, sir.
क्या दिख रहा है? What do you see?
नहीं देखा था कुछ भी, इसे नहीं दिख रहा.
नहीं दिख रहा
सर
है.
अभी नहीं शेयर हो रहा है.
चली गई.
शेयरिंग बंद हो गई है स्क्रीन की.
Okay, okay, we will go to that. Okay, अब दिख रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a software again written by me to demonstrate the change in the Q point and all those effects over there. So let us take our own example, very first example that we have already seen, and see how the changes in beta affect and the changes in temperature affect the Q point. Right? This is a easy way of understanding the concept here. The very first thing is your fixed current bias. Let us adjust the beta to 100. All right. Then your VCC was how much? 15 volts. Okay. And the desired value of VCQ was 5 volts and 5 milliamperes. So I designed this. Now you can see that we already have. So the design we have already done during the example. So the values are coming exactly the same, 2 kilo ohms and 286 kilo ohms for RB. Is this okay? At this point of time? ठीक है ना?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Now see where the Q point is located. Fine. The Q point is located somewhere, as you can see nicely. Okay. Now what happens if, fine, that is okay. Like, if your signal changes, let us say if I change the signal like this, see what is happening. Okay, up to this, no problem. But as soon as the signal level increases, look at this part. What is happening here? The signal is getting chopped off. The output is getting chopped off, means that you are going to have distortion over here. Are you able to understand this? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have, that's fine. But now if the beta changes, to, let us say 50, let us see where the Q point moves. Now this is supposed to be our designed values. So the moment my beta changes, how will the beta change? Because unit to unit variation will be there for the transistor. Nobody can guarantee that all the transistors with the same numbers will have the same beta. There is a range. We've already discussed that. So if the beta changes to 50, see what is happening. Where is the Q point? The Q point is getting over here, and now there is a possibility that you may land up in distortion over here on this side. Okay, one of the peaks get clipped off. So look at the variation in beta. Now again I'll change the beta to 150. Here completely gone. Only half of the signal is amplified. The other half is literally gone, which is not a good thing at all. You understand this? Look at the variation in beta, in the Q point with beta. Huge variations. Huge variations. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
Guys, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what is the conclusion? We can say that a fixed current bias circuit, there is a large variation in Q point which may cause distortion, which is totally bad. That is the reason why we say that the the fixed current bias circuit is not a very good choice for signal amplification. Now let us see what happens to the temperature variation. So if the temperature changes, you can see, yes, this is something which is going very bad. Okay, as the temperature increases, you can see this is going into a thermal runaway. Okay, it is going into thermal runaway there. So temperature changes are, or rather, this circuit is heavily affected by the temperature change. And naturally, we have to think about all these things. In fact, here itself, you'll see the stability factor is 101, which is very, 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 very poor. We've already said that stability factor greater than 50 is bad. So stability factor here is 101, and so this particular circuit is not at all a good choice for amplification. Why? Because my signal is not going to be amplified faithfully. It is going to be clipped off like this. All right. Is this okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Then we will
sir.
go for the second circuit, which is the collector to base bias. Is this visible now?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Let me again go to that screen. All right. Now is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will stick to our original values. This is 15 volts, and VCQ required was 5 volt, 5 milliampere. Yes, so these are the design values that we got. Do they correlate? Look at your calculations. Are these the same values? Are these the same values? Yes, obviously. Now look at what happens to the change in beta. Large variation is there or not? It is there, but it is less as compared to what?
FCB.
FCB. Correct, very correct. So the variation is is lesser in this case. Okay, if I stick to 100 and then if I change the temperature, again the temperature variations, you'll see the Q point does change, but not as much as the fixed current bias. See that? Do you see these values changing? All right.
Yes.
Look at the stability factor. It is 31.1, which is not good, but it is better than fixed current bias. You see the effect, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
very good. So that was the collector to base bias. Let us go for the emitter current bias, and we expect that the variation should be very small, or let us say very much small as compared
Yes, sir.
to the other two types of circuits. Okay, so we will again have the same values. All right. So this was what we had calculated. All right. Wasn't it? Isn't it the same? Yes. Now let us have a look at the change in the Q point with change in beta. So if beta I'm changing from 20 to 200, large variation in beta. In spite of that, the Q point is fairly stable. You see that? Do you see that? Remember, this is the 200. I'm stretching it to 200.
Yes, sir.
So the variation is way too less as compared to the other two types of circuits. Again, for temperature, it is very small. Very small. This is good, a very good circuit. So we can say that the bias stability is more, and here from here itself you can see that the bias stability is 7.3. We had predicted that the bias stability for our example would have been 7 to 7.7, and yes, it is well within that that range. So what do we conclude from this? What do we conclude?
That
Yes.
is a very good circuit for
Emitter current bias is a very good circuit for
signal amplification.
signal amplification. It does not mean, however, that your fixed current bias is totally useless fellow. It is very well, it can be used for when you want to use the transistor as a switch. In that case, fixed current bias is a very good candidate, because we want the transistor, the Q point, to be either in the cutoff or in the saturation. We don't want it to be in the center of the load line there. Okay, so we either want it to go into the saturation or cutoff. All right, so that is where we can use the fixed current bias when the transistor is used as a switch. All right, any doubts, any questions up to this point? So
No, sir.
are you convinced that the emitter current bias is the best one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure, because the entire exercise of this particular interactive demo was to make you understand that emitter current bias really is a very good circuit, because it offers excellent bias stability. Okay. Now we can verify this with multisim. That is what I'm going to ask you to do in the assignments, that you are supposed to vary the beta and see the changes, practical changes in the Q point, that is VCE and IC. That is what we can see. So let me go to multisim. Unfortunately, I may not be able to share this software with you. What is the reason? Can you guess what is the reason? The reason is that it gives you direct analysis as well as the design automatically. Like, you don't require any calculations, and that is a very dangerous thing at your level. Okay, you should have the practice of solving it on your own. So this will be a direct solution, which of course can be used for verification only, but many people will directly use this software and give me the answers at the time of assignments. So probably after the assignments, I will share this software with you. All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Let me just switch to multisim here. There is one more type of biasing which I would like to discuss first, and then go into multisim if time permits. So just let me make those arrangements here. Okay, I'll switch back to our notepad. I don't know why this notepad is not visible now. Maybe I have to. Not available, visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is one more type of biasing, which is like preferred in various different circuits, and it is called as the split supply biasing. This is your precursor to integrated circuits. So in integrated circuits, we normally use this type of biasing. Okay, how is it done? So instead of a single polarity power supply, we use a dual polarity power supply. Let us see how to do that. Other things are exactly the same. This is interesting. So this is going to be your plus VCC, and this over here is called as minus VEE. This is going to be your RE. This is going to be your RC. This is RB. Yes, anything strange here? Anything strange? This is your IB. So anything strange that you see here?
VEE.
Yes, VEE is strange or different. Let us see that. This is your IB. Again, this will be your VBE. Now, basically, what is the big picture? What is our objective? Is to have a Q point with some value of VCEQ and ICQ. This was our objective. So I should be in a position to have a collector current and correspondingly the VCE voltage. Okay. Right. Now, first of all, let me tell you something about the concept of dual polarity supply. The usual supply that we normally have is like this. So whatever load we have here. Okay. So let us say if this is the voltage is 5 volts here, and this is the load and all those things. We normally call this as ground. Okay. Now in split supply, you have something like this. This point is called as ground. And you have load over here. So with respect to this point, I'm having plus 5 volts here. And with respect to this point, what is this voltage? Let us put it down nicely. I'll call this as point A. Call this as point B. All right. So with respect, so what is VA? Of course, everything is with reference to the ground. This is the ground, which is called as 0 volts for our convenience. So what is VA? If this is plus 5, this is also plus 5. Look at the polarity of the two batteries connected to back like this. So what is VA?
Plus 5 volts.
Plus 5 volts. What is VB?
Minus 5 volts.
Excellent.
Minus 5.
So what is the voltage across the load? VA minus VB. How much is that?
0, sir.
0? 0? कैसे हो सकता है?
Yes, sir. 10 volts, sir.
It will be 10 volts. Yes, this is very interesting. So this is how you get the split power supply. Okay. For that, you have to make the ground common. So the positive is connected to ground. Negative is actually whatever is the negative voltage. So this is how you have the dual polarity supply. So I can have, so if I want 10 volts to appear across this particular load, I can have this as 10 volts, or a split supply like this of 5 volts each, and then I can still have 10 volts across the load. Are you getting this? The concept of dual supply. Now let us come back to the biasing. Now in case of biasing, what happens is, what do I expect actually? That I should have this transistor, I should have IC, and I should have the VCE of a certain value. Okay. Now if I make this kind of arrangement, what will happen is I can bias the transistor very close to 0 volts. It does not mean it is taking the transistor into a cutoff, because don't forget about this negative voltage here. So base is positive with respect to emitter, and that is why the emitter current flows from the ground into this. setting up the collector current or emitter current, which is inevitably the same as the collector current. Okay, so don't get confused if I show the current flowing from ground to this point. Why? Because this point is more negative with respect to ground. You see that? What is the advantage? The advantage of this circuit is that I am eliminating R1 and R2 completely. What was the function of R1 and R2? What was the function? To provide VB. Remember that? R1 and R2 were providing this VB so that I can bias the transistor somewhere in the center of the load line. But since I am having this arrangement, there is no need of VB. VB can itself be ground. So what I have done is I have eliminated two resistors. In fact, this resistor many times also may not be required, but at least I have eliminated one resistor. In addition to that, we'll see that more details when we go for amplifiers. That content, DC content, can be reduced to a very small value in the output. We'll see that when we go for the amplifiers. So have you understood the concept at least? I can have the design, I can go for the design, but I don't want to confuse you with this because this is not explicitly mentioned in your syllabus, but will be tremendously required when we go for the next semester course, that is your linear integrated circuits. So this is a very important concept which will be used over there. I just wanted to introduce to you that there is one more type of biasing which is there, and that is called as the split supply biasing. More about this maybe later if we get some time. Okay, I can show you the design also for this particular split supply biasing with the same values that we have already taken for the three circuits. Okay, now in order to ensure that the bias stability is good, I have to have this thumb rule: maximum current IB is the maximum current into RB should be much less than VBE. This concept will be exclusively used in LIC, linear integrated circuits, in the second semester. Okay, so please remember this concept. So while designing, normally what we have is IB max, that is a maximum base current. In fact, you can see it's the maximum drop, that is IB into RB is the drop across that RB, is normally restricted to 1/10 of VBE. So this is the thumb rule that we use for designing such circuits. I can show you the complete design, but then you will get unnecessarily confused. So is it okay with all of you now? I think we have already coming to an end of our time slot. So is this clear, all of you? So just to have a quick review, how many types of biasing circuits are there for BJT?
3.
How many types? Yes, how many types of biasing are there? Come on. 3. You've just now seen the fourth.
4.
Yes, 4 types of biasing. Fourth one is very similar to, or it is exactly similar to the emitter current bias, no doubt about that. But we expect that we have already seen, we have proved that the emitter current bias and naturally the split supply bias also has a very good bias stability. Okay, Now you can expect a couple of questions, assignment related assignments for this particular unit. So we have finished with the first unit of your syllabus. Next time, that is tomorrow, we will start with the amplifiers. All right. So, but before that, I urge all of you to please go through all the material that we have already seen. I hope you have been writing down your own notes. Whenever I write something on the screen, you are supposed to copy it down. That will be your notes. All right. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that, I will stop for today. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.